It's very cold outside, but it seems that nobody cares. Today I will show you how to knit this bib from the Passap Baby book. The bib is nice, but this is the most annoying pattern to follow. You will see why only if you get to the end of the video. Now let's begin. First, make sure the racking handle is in its lowest position and the beds are centered. Set both locks to N and the stitch size to 4.5. Insert the orange strippers. Move the lock to the color changer and take the main yarn. Now put all needles in working position. Place the edge springs on the last needles. Start from left to right and put every third needle out of work. Now raise all needles on the back bed. Place the edge springs on the last needles. Start from left to right and put every third needle out of work. It should look like this. On the front bed, raise the pusher under the leftmost needle, then raise the pusher under the leftmost needle of each group of 2 working needles. The pushers must be in working position. On the back bed, raise the pusher under the second needle from left to right, then under the rightmost needle of each group of 2 working needles. Make sure the raised pushers are in working position. Now knit 1 row. Set both locks to AX. Now knit 3 rows. Increase the stitch size to 5.5 on both sides of the lock. Knit 1 row to the left. Set both locks to N and the stitch size to 4.5. Rotate the racking handle 1 full turn clockwise and knit 1 row. Rotate the racking handle 1 full turn anti-clockwise and knit 1 row. Set both locks to EX. Now knit 1 row. Set both locks to N and knit 1 row. Use the orange ruler and put all needles on the front and the back bed in working position. Now knit 1 row. Set both locks to CX. Now knit 2 rows. Increase the stitch size to 5.5 on both sides of the lock. Now knit 4 rows. Clear the row counter, then set both locks to BX, decrease the stitch size to 4.5 and press both left arrow keys. Move the lock to the color changer and take a contrasting color waste yarn. Remove the orange strippers and insert the black ones. On the front bed, start from right to left and raise 60 pushers. Put these 60 pushers in resting position. Then put all other pushers out of work. It should look like this. On the back bed, start from right to left and raise 60 pushers. Put these 60 pushers in working position. Then put all other pushers out of work. Now knit 20 rows. Don't forget to move the trip cam for the row counter to count the rows properly. Move the lock to the color changer and leave the eyelet there. Now knit 4 rows without yarn to drop these 120 stitches. Use the orange ruler to put all empty needles out of work. Then put all pushers on both beds out of work. Don't forget to support me by liking the video and subscribing to my channel. Move the edge springs to the last working needles. Take the eyelet with the waste yarn again. Cut the yarn and hold it with your hand, then slide the lock to the left. Wrap the yarn tail around the racking handle. Clear the row counter, press both 0 keys, then press both right arrow keys. On the front bed, start from left to right and raise 60 pushers. Put these 60 pushers in resting position. Now raise 60 pushers at left on the back bed. Put these 60 pushers in working position. Slide the trip cam for the row counter to the left and knit 20 rows. Take out the eyelet from the jaws and cut the yarn. Now knit 4 rows without changing the settings on the locks. Slide the lock to the right. Put all empty needles out of work and move the edge springs on the last working needles. Then put all pushers out of work. Unwrap the yarn from the racking handle. Rotate the racking handle to its upper position. Move the edge springs to the sides and transfer all stitches to the opposite needles on the front bed of the machine. Put the edge springs on the last working needles, then make sure all needles on the back bed are out of work. Return the racking handle to its lowest position. Clear the row counter, then set the front lock to N, the stitch size to 5 and press the 0 key. Then set the back lock to GX and press the 0 key. Pull the main yarn from the eyelet and retread the machine if you haven't done that already. Move the lock to the color changer and take the eyelet with the main yarn. Move the right edge spring and transfer the rightmost stitch one needle to the right. Then take the purl bump and put it in the hook of the empty needle. Now knit one row. Move the left edge spring and transfer the leftmost stitch one needle to the left. Then take the purl bump and put it in the hook of the empty needle. Now knit one row. Move the right edge spring and increase one stitch to the right. Put the purl bump in the hook of the empty needle. Now knit one row. Now increase one stitch on the left side. You have to repeat these steps until the row counter is at 10 rows. I will leave the whole footage so it will be available in case you want to watch each step of the process. Clear the row counter and knit 100 rows without changing the settings on the locks. Clear the row counter and set the front lock to BX. Start from right to left and raise 32 pushers under the working needles on the front bed of the machine. Make sure to put the pushers in working position. Now slightly raise 5 needles in the middle as shown in the video. Use the single prong tool and cast off these 5 stitches using a strand of the same color yarn. Drop the front bed and put the yarn tails between the beds of the machine. Then put those 5 empty needles out of work. Knit one row and cast off 3 stitches on the right side of the knitting. Put the empty needles out of work, then knit 2 rows. Now cast off 2 stitches on the left side of the knitting. Put the empty needles out of work, then knit 2 rows. Now cast off 2 stitches on the left side again. Put the empty needles out of work and knit 2 rows. Now cast off 1 stitch left. You can simply transfer this stitch to the right. Put the empty needle out of work and knit 2 rows. Transfer 1 stitch again, put the empty needle out of work and knit 2 rows. Decrease 1 stitch once again. Knit 2 rows and decrease 1 stitch for the last time. Now knit 1 row to the right. Clear the row counter and knit 24 rows without changing the settings on the locks. Clear the row counter. Move the right edge spring, then use the single prong tool and cast off all stitches using the yarn from the lock. Cut the yarn and wrap it around the annex lever. Put all empty needles and pushers out of work. Then move the edge spring on the last working needle. Slide the lock to the left. The machine won't knit. Take the yarn tail and wrap it around the racking handle. Move the annex lever to end and knit 1 row. Move the right edge spring and use the single prong tool to cast off 3 stitches. Now knit 2 rows. Move the right edge spring and cast off 2 stitches at the right. Place the edge spring on the rightmost working needle and knit 2 rows. Move the edge spring again and cast off 2 stitches. Now knit 2 rows. Now transfer 1 stitch to the adjacent needle to the left. Knit 2 rows and decrease 1 stitch the same way. Repeat these steps 2 times more. The lock must be on the left side of the machine and the row counter should be at 14 rows. Clear the row counter and knit 24 rows without changing the settings on the locks. Clear the row counter, then move the left edge spring and cast off all stitches. This is what the bib looks like right after you take it from the machine. This is the Picot edge. First you have to stretch it and sew it to the sides. Then it would look like this. After you sew the edging, pull the ends of the waste yarn to unravel it. Now it should look like this. At this point we only have to finish the neck and the shoulders. I can't crochet along the neckline, so I will use a different approach to make the bib. First make sure the racking handle is in its lowest position. Drop the front bed and raise 2 needles in a 1-to-1 division on the back bed. Place the left edge spring on the leftmost working needle. Set the front lock to GX, then set the back lock to CX and the stitch size to 1. Insert the black strippers. Move the lock to the color changer and take the eyelet with the main yarn. Now knit 2 rows. The machine won't knit when you move the lock to the left, and this is totally normal. It will only knit when the lock is moved to the right. Now increase the stitch size on the back lock to 4.5. Take a 7-shaped weight hanger and insert it between both stitches. Then attach a weight to it and hold the weight with your left hand. With your right hand raise 2 needles as shown in the video. Now knit 2 rows and release the weight. It won't fall after the cast on is done. Clear the row counter. Take the bib and turn it with the purl side facing you. Take 2 stitches on the right side and put them in the hooks of the leftmost needles. Then push the bib between the beds of the machine. Now knit 4 rows. Take 2 stitches and put them into the hooks of the leftmost needles. Now knit 4 rows. Continue the same way until you get to the end of the bib. Please tell me in the comments how would you finish the neckline and the shoulders. I got to the end and my row counter was at 294 rows. Cut the yarn from the eyelet, remove the weight and sew off the stitches from left to right. It seems that I'm sewing off a piece of I-cord, but that's only because I lost some of the footage. This is what the bib should look like right after you take it from the machine. The I-cord edging should be all around the shoulders and the neckline. Now we have to knit some I-cord to make the ties. I will use the double prong tool and I will take 2 stitches from the purl side of the bib. I will make the same cast on for the I-cord and then I will knit 120 rows to make each tie about 20 centimeters long. So this is the final result. Tell me, do you like this bib and are you brave enough to try making it? Thank you for watching, have a nice day and see you in my next video.